Dr. Nellum. I'm a GP.
I'm Ronit, I'm a happiness coach.
And I'm Deb, I'm a nurse.
So today we are this is the second video on insomnia that we're doing. So if you haven't listened to our first one, that's from last week. Go ahead and listen to that. That was the introduction to insomnia. So today we're going to talk about what happens in the body when you have insomnia. So ladies, you know, a few months ago when I was with my brother and he was, you know, not well and he passed away, as some of you probably know that story. While I was with him, you know, it was very upsetting, as you can imagine, and it was really difficult for me to go to sleep because these thoughts were constantly churning in my mind, like, you know, what's going to happen, all of these things. So you know, I did worry because I had a few days of these kind of this kind of sleep, but I don't necessarily think that was insomnia.
Yes, if you remember from last week, then we talked about the 30-30-3-3. So for it to be considered insomnia, it needs to be 30 minutes to make you fall asleep, more than 30 minutes. And then if you do wake up, it takes you 30 minutes to go back to sleep. And it needs to be 3 times a week.
Yes.
And for over 3 months.
Yes.
For it to be clinically
considered.
You don't feel restored.
That's right.
Yes.
So, I mean, it did go on for a little bit of time, but I wouldn't say it fit that criteria. Yeah.
Because insomnia is associated with a psychological component. So there's emotional distress, which obviously you were suffering.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Anxiety, but a lot of us get caught up in our busy lifestyles, being on the go all the time, no time for us, as in to reflect what we need to do, have that quiet time and let your mind sort things out. And it's only at night then that the brain sort of gets busy and keeps us awake, just thinking and ruminating and catastrophizing what the possible outcomes could be if, you know, such and such peaked. So
and I think a lot of people say that, don't they? That that's what happens. That when they go to sleep, that they're so tired, but when they go to sleep,
the brain
chatter starts.
Yes,
the brain chatter starts. And look, think about it. We if you go back into being, you know, primitive people, then we are programmed to respond with the fight, flight, freeze mode. And when we're stressed, because you know, it's a jungle and we see a lion or a snake. And what happened is that in our life now, when we are going to sleep, just like Deb said, and our brain is like catastrophizing things or what's going to happen about this, we are basically reacting to a threat. We talked about it in many sessions in our program. It doesn't have to be a real threat. It can be a perceived threat for the body to start responding as if we are in danger now. So danger means the fight and flight response. It means that our heart rate increases, you know, tension in the muscles. What else happens?
Blood flowing.
Yes.
That's what the body does. It says, well, you're in danger, there's a lion. So it needs to flood the body with blood to make you
and the metabolic rate starts to increase because, you know, it's in preparation to do whatever it is that
So just imagine you going to sleep where your body goes into a stage where it needs to come down, process everything that happened throughout the day, do a bit of cleaning in the body, and what you're doing at that moment is you are going into the jungle. Instead of relaxing, everything is hyped and oh my god, it's like such a threat, which is really, really dangerous. So it's not just, oh, you're not going to sleep. Basically, your body is going to pay for this mode.
And also the fact that then, like you said before, Ronit, that it doesn't have the opportunity, not only is it going into this mode, but it doesn't have the opportunity to do its cleaning and resting and all of that as well. So it's like a double whammy, right?
Look, if we did not need sleep, we'd probably be on, like a battery that's always on
Yes.
for 24 hours. But for some reason, which we hope that you're learning with our videos and our workshops, we need that time.
Yeah.
To do the restoring
Yes.
a lot of stuff. So it's not just that, okay, I'm going to faint because I didn't sleep enough. My body is not doing what it needs to do in order for me to get up tomorrow morning with a charged batteries to do this.
And hopefully you've been reading the articles that have been coming up over the last few weeks on sleep and how it manifests and the problems that can occur if you don't get the right amount of sleep.
Yeah.
So there is another thing that happens in the body, and that's the activation of what we call the HPA pathway. It's a big word, hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. So this is the axis that controls stress. So when there's been chronic stress for a while, so not like what I experienced over a short period, but if there's this constant over months, you're worrying about something, that activates this HPA axis and it increases your amount of cortisol that you produce. And what happens with cortisol is that cortisol has what's called a diurnal pattern. So sometimes in the day there are periods that it rises and periods that it falls. And normally in people who don't have insomnia, what happens is cortisol levels they're at the lowest during nighttime, just before you're heading off to sleep. With people who have insomnia, what happens is it starts going down, and just before they are going to sleep, it peaks. And then it goes down and peaks again at about 2 or 3 in the morning. Okay, so that really coincides. So if you've got cortisol spikes, then that's really going to kind of mess with sleep onset, okay, and staying asleep. So
is it connected to food though? I have a question about this because we're doing metabolic health and so on, and does it have any connection to the fact that basically our sugar levels are not stable?
It could be, yes, because that could also, because remember, when cortisol goes up, that increases insulin levels, and then it also increases sugar levels. So when cortisol goes up, that increases your blood sugar levels, which also increase your insulin levels. So it's all linked in. And I think, Deb, you were saying about having the hypos as well.
Yeah, have low sugars at night. That's the same times that you struggle.
And we've spoken to so many people who are awake at 2 or 3 in the morning.
And that core temperature coming up.
Oh, yes.
With your metabolic rate increasing.
Yes.
Then, I spend a lot of time throwing the blankets off there.
Yes. You probably have heard by now that it's really important to maintain a good, like a low temperature in the bedroom as well to get good sleep. So if that temperature is rising because you're
in the jungle
is revving up
and trying to run away from a lion instead of fall asleep.
Well, there's no way you can sleep if that's what the body's thinking about, right?
Definitely your heart.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I found that bit really interesting, learning about that. So I hope that that's been interesting to you. So next week, this is our last episode on insomnia and how to manage insomnia. So keep tuning in, and hopefully this has been helpful to you. Bye.
Bye-bye.